Hello, everyone, and welcome in. Second round of the 2023 Memorial Championship presented by Discraft. We're again out here at the Fountain Hills course, and what a treat for you guys. Not only do we have Connor Rock along with Gannon Buhr, our card also features Danny Beauchamp coming in from the Midwest and Alden Harris. And guess what, folks? First time ever, Gannon Buhr on the mic. What?
Yeah, I'm excited to be here commentating with you, Terry, and looking forward to watching this chase card coverage.
We got one round in at the Fountain. It was a little bit chilly out there on Thursday, but we come back out for the action on Friday. What are we looking at for hole number one here, Gannon?
Hole one is a 393-foot par 3. It's got a lot of danger, actually. It's a hole you do not really want to start a bogey off with your round. It's most important just to cross in bounds if you are going to go aggressive off the tee. So whether that throwing something overstable, long of the basket, having it crash back left at the end, or some people just play it for par, which, you know, not a bad play if you want to start your round out just with a par. A lot of other birdie holes in the course. Connor almost putting it in off the tee and skipping OB left, like I said, but he did cross in bounds of the corner, so he'll have a nice short putt for his par.
And here you are. You came in with an 11 under. How'd you feel about the 11 from round one?
It was all right. Definitely left a couple mistakes out there. Just a couple bad shots that cost me multiple strokes, which you can't do out here. This shot right here is a little bit high out of my hand. I'm going with my D1 that was actually from Alden's bag. And
Well,
dunked it
not
right
anymore.
in the water. Sorry about
Thanks,
that one,
Alden.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to be OB for you. And now we have Danny Beauchamp, who I believe comes out of Illinois.
Yes, Danny will be throwing this cloud breaker a lot the entire day. He's really leaning on that for his control distance shots.
And in full disclosure, not only do we have Alden Harris on the tee, we have Alden Harris here in the studio as well, watching the action.
And dunked another disc.
Wow.
Same exact disc, actually. So, funny story, those were both our water discs, and we dunked them both in the first hole, and here Alden's going with this, well, my 750 FX2 that he got from my bag. So we're kind of just trading discs now, and there's the danger right there.
Oh, man. All right. It's so kind of you guys to donate to the lake so often out here today. Danny out there in the middle of circle 2. Certainly a runnable putt from this distance, but also easy to be tentative on it. And that's looking like an easy 3, especially after he's watched you guys donate a bunch of plastic to the lake already.
Yeah, and here it's sitting at, right about 40 feet is not what you want to start your day out. It's low out of my hand. You can kind of see it didn't have a great fall through. I never really do, but that one was pretty exaggerated, so just got to focus on that moving forward and really be confident with my putter.
A lot of people really got to know Connor Rock better last week at the Las Vegas Challenge because we saw him on a couple of the covered cards, and obviously we've seen him really come up through the ranks. If you're from Arizona, you've known about him for a while, but now it looks like he has a little bit more of a, we'll say, dedicated effort. Is he touring full time? Do you know?
Yeah, I think I talked to him. He's going to probably be hitting the rest of the tour spots, which is very exciting. Connor's got a ton of potential. I was actually able to play with him round one as well. And he's just throwing great backhand shots and pretty much making every single putt inside the circle and also making a couple deep putts out in circle 2. He's got a very unique putting style. It's pretty soft, very push putt-like, and drops it right in there. Alden, unfortunately, going to start with a triple bogey. That was the danger I was talking about with hole 1. Really got to, kind of pick your game plan. If you're going to make the mistake, know where to make it. And, unfortunately off the tee pad, he wasn't able to cross in bounds, so that drop zone shot is not easy at all.
And at this point, Danny's thinking, man, I'm picking up strokes on everybody here just with the par.
Yeah, 5 over as a card on hole 1 is not the way you want to start the round.
And something else that's unique that we'll talk about briefly is that although you guys had a later day, or we'll say a more traditional day during round number 1, they actually pushed up all the MPO tee times to go off a little earlier so that you guys would have an earlier round. And here we are on hole number 2. We'll talk about that more in a moment. But hole 2 is one of the few par 4s out here.
Yeah, not many very par 4s here at Fountain. Hole 2 is a tricky one, especially if you haven't played the course much. You either go as a right-handed player, go forehand out wide left, or take this low backhand gap that Danny's taken here. Spike Heiser was a play in years past, but with the new Mando tree on the right, that is not a play anymore. So, Danny, that's exactly what you're looking for off the tee. Keeping it low underneath that tree and getting pretty good distance, actually.
That right side OB can come into play. That actually parallels along with hole number 3. We get a late green flag, so he's safe. But that's not too far from hole number 3's fairway, which is considered out of bounds. You're going with a forehand here.
Yeah, round one, I hit the first tree right there in front of me and had about 550 feet into the green with a low ceiling. So I kind of just told myself, put myself out there, even 300 feet off the tee pad on a 700-foot hole. You know, with a wide open second shot, 400 feet, it's pretty much plain as nothing. Just got to hit your line. Alden going with his 400 D1 right here. This is a workhorse for him. It's really beat up, but it still has some overstability to it. 400 feet out here for me, going with my FX2. Just told myself to kind of almost try to hit the base of the tree. And I actually ended up hitting the back of the tree. Surprisingly, kind of settled up about 25 feet away for a birdie putt.
Yeah, that tree is always one of the best landmarks that you find out here. You want to come just inside of it typically without too much angle. And that should give you a putt. Danny's going to hang it out extra wide. Looks like he hits the base of a different tree, unfortunately. Am I seeing that Connor also Team Infinite, but otherwise not a disc manufacturer sponsor? Is that what you gathered or no?
Yeah, Connor is going to be throwing a mixed bag. I know for his drivers, he'll be throwing a lot of Halo Destroyers and a couple fairways from Innova, throwing a Harp for approach shots with putters, and he might be putting with Lunas. I didn't get a close look there, but...
So about as mixed bag as it gets, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Little bit of everything. I wonder how long that's going to last.
Yeah, I know.
You got any sponsor insights or secrets here?
I would imagine he's going to get picked up by, you know, someone pretty big here soon if he keeps playing the way he is. Danny with a great run there. Very scary putt, too. Takes a lot of courage to run something like that. And it's kind of a nastier roll away, actually.
Yeah, more action than you realize from back where we were. So this for the comebacker, and then he's short on that. So that's going to be painful as he's going to pick up a bogey here on hole number 2.
After that tee shot, that's not what he was looking for at all. He was pretty much in the prime position on what you're looking for off the tee on here in hole 2. I guess about 20 feet for me here for birdie. Another terrible follow-through, barely over the rim, but I'll take it, man. Get back to even par. Not the worst start, honestly.
I mean, it ain't pretty, but it's in, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how my putting works a lot of the time.
It's amazing for how tall you are, how often they come in low and just kind of skim across the top of the basket. Do you find that happening? Why is that?
Yeah, well, actually, for some reason, I've kind of always been a nose-down putter these last couple years, especially on tour, which I think has benefited me in putting consistency. I feel like I can hit my line most of the time when I want it to. I guess just like ever since I started playing this year, I kind of it got more nose down, and you know, kind of just barely squeaking them over the cage and not having that perfect follow through. You don't get that little extra oomph you need whenever it comes to really making that putt right in the center of the basket. But you know, if it's in, it's in. There's no pictures on the scorecard, so we're gonna take that one.
You got it. And we're on to hole number 3, one of the shorter holes, also one of the easier holes that we'll find out here. Hole 2 actually played as the second most difficult hole on the course that we just saw in hole 3. Elevated basket. Not too much to this one.
No, kind of just wide open. Don't think too much. I'm taking this one a little bit wider than I would like to, and that's going to be pushing the OB line. We're going to see when we get up there how close that one is, but Alden going with his Panda Express dyed Orange Chicken FX2. Nice and overstable, and kind of see what that graphic pushes it just a little bit deep out of bounds. He'll have about a 30-foot par putt coming up.
And short there for Danny, but he'll still have a look. Obviously not much in terms of obstacles out here on hole number 3. Usually the wind is a factor, but it's almost been no factor whatsoever for these first 2 rounds.
Yeah, it's felt really nice not having to play with too much wind at all. Gets a couple wind gusts, wind breezes every once in a while out here, just with it being so wide open. But you know, it's really nice. We have a nice 55, beautiful day here, Fountain Hills, and I'm stepping up, and this is it's getting pretty breezy at this point. Checking the wind, you kind of hear it in the mic a little bit.
And so clearly we watch you just pull or
Patent
take a
move.
few. Yeah, that too. That's a whole nother story with our friends at Sunstein. But so I see you stepping it off. You were that close to the OB line that you then were giving yourself a full meter relief from the OB. Is that right?
Yeah, I was probably quarter of an inch in bounds. It's definitely in bounds, but it was very close, a lot closer than I'd like to, and taking a little bit of time on this putt, but was able to put that right in the center of the basket. That was a great feeling putt for sure. When you putt elevated, got actually a decent amount of wind on that putt. That's probably the windiest putt of the day for me. So that one felt good, and especially having it be kind of a gimme birdie hole, you really don't want to miss this. And here's Alden for par.
Yeah, he's got a little work to do here.
In my opinion, these are some of the hardest putts on the course when it's a birdie hole, or maybe even not a birdie hole, but you got to putt for par and you got to make it. For me, at least, the putts for birdie feel a lot easier because if you miss them, you'll be fine, and then usually you end up making them because you're not as stressed. But Danny with a very similar length comeback putt here, putting with very firm Wizards from Gateway.
And as always, at the top of the hour, the fountain goes off. There's a couple different engines or jets in there, and there's essentially a wind reed that is attached to that, and that is what will help determine how high the jets will go up based on how much there is in terms of wind. So if it's too windy out, it doesn't kick into the highest levels.
I definitely noticed it's a little bit taller today. Not as windy as it was day one, I felt like.
So an island hole number 4, where this one's somewhat manufactured in the sense that I don't think this hole is out here typically if you came out here and played in a casual round of golf. I'm not certain of that, but I don't think that they typically play this one. But it was added to the Memorial layout a couple years ago.
And with how short this hole is, it's so daunting. I mean, it's right there in front of you, 250 feet. It's just one of those gimme birdies that, especially with it being an island, if you miss it, it's pretty much a bogey. You really just got to pick your spot in the sky, hit it, and this one felt really good come out of my hand, throwing my A2, spiking it right over the top of the basket, gonna leave me about 25 feet again.
So knock on wood, and not to jinx anyone, but so far, I think I've watched 3 rounds of coverage. This is the 4th round on this hole, and I've yet to see anyone miss the island.
Alden barely got over the wall there. Yeah, we almost saw one right there, but sneaks it in with his super overstable PA1. And Danny kind of likes this more of a flip-up line, which is pretty unique, I feel like. It does land a lot softer, which is a benefit of throwing a hyzer flip with a slow disc on a hole like this. And you can kind of see the tree in the background, a little bit windy here. Another awful follow-through.
Yeah, that one didn't look too bad.
I know.
That basket's also a little bit lower, I feel like, than some of the other regulation baskets. I guess they're all regulation, but that one looks a little bit lower to the ground.
Yeah, at least for me, my stroke's pretty up and down, so having a low basket can be hard sometimes because my hand does want to finish kind of up. That's just the way my swing goes, so I have to be a little bit more direct with my putt when I'm putting downhill. Alden about 20 feet here.
Looks like we're en route for a star frame.
Has to be expected on a hole like this, but once again, still a good get. Get some nice confidence moving into the rest of the round.
Yeah, when it was all said and done, 64 of our MPO competitors picked up birdies there. And, of course, we should be picking up some double G jerky as you head over to hole number 5. You were recently picked up.
Yeah.
Double G action,
This is about the time in the round I grab my double G jerky out of my bag and start eating. Got to stay fueled for the next couple holes coming up. Don't want to get burned out before the end of the round.
Love it. As we're playing the downhill 441, that tree is certainly the number one obstacle. If you hang it too far right, you could either be in the road or possibly find that landscaped rock garden, and too long can find OB.
Yep, here's Connor with his likely a destroyer here. This is looking a little bit wide, a little bit long, and almost came back in there at the end. That's typical Fountain Hills for you, man. Just random people walking in your fairway, but
You're not worried about them.
I'm not worried about them. Not at all.
I love that they're still mid-stride and you were just ready to
go.
go.
Of the hill too, as well.
Wait a minute. Are we going to accuse you of going too fast? What's going on there?
I don't know. You'll probably
Step up
see
and
me,
throw.
Yeah, speed up a little bit more. I definitely. I don't think time is going to be really any issue this year. Maybe on a couple tricky shots, but I feel like I definitely sped my play up, and it's weird. Last couple of tournaments there, I haven't had any nerves, which maybe might be bad, might be good. But the nerves kind of makes me play a little bit slower. So with no nerves, I'm able to kind of step up and just throw the shot.
Well, in all fairness, there were a few edits here where we trimmed out a little bit of your warm-up routine to save us all some of that time.
For sure.
But yes, it does seem like you're much more in control of that 30 seconds you have. Here's Danny, and really this is no choice but a layup. I mean, you could try and get tricky and do something silly, but your likelihood of hitting and then rolling into the road, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, he had a small gap. You only have about 10 feet from the basket to the road here. The grass is actually pretty grabby, especially because we had a bunch of rain a couple nights ago. So it's a lot different than in practice. You got to kind of play the ground play a little bit different than how you were in practice. Everything's kind of digging into the hills. You're not really getting those kind of flare skips you're used to in Arizona. Alden here for a nice birdie putt. That one looked really confident from Alden. Hole 5 is definitely a good get on the course. It's probably one of the top 3 hardest holes in the course.
Yeah, top 4 actually. So you're
4.
pretty close. I was just going to say, it's got to feel somewhat like a bonus. I mean, obviously you guys can drive that far. There's a route to the basket. There's multiple ways to do it as you cash in a nice birdie, but it still feels like on that tougher side, right?
100%, especially for Fountain Hills. There's going to be a lot of birdies out here, so if you can pick up the hard ones, you're going to feel pretty good going into the easier holes.
So Connor with the bogey. He's sitting at just 1 under for the round. And Danny doesn't have too much momentum going for himself right now. He's sitting at even. Alden even for the round as well. And speaking of Arizona, big shout out to our friends at the Distinguished Doodle, and use the code DiscGolfGuy. You get 20% off all of your products. Do we need to get you some doggy products? You got a dog back home?
I do. I got a couple dogs. I have 3 dogs. One of my dad's, 2 of my mom's.
Okay, I think it's a no-brainer. We'll get some stuff out to you as we're
pick some up.
Heck yeah, we are on 6 uphill to the spine. And how much spike are you trying to put on this?
About that right there. I was actually a little bit too low. So it's going to push a little bit long. It's going to leave me about 45 feet. I really thought it was going to be about 25 feet, but maybe I got to skip and roll. We don't have a catch cam here, so definitely hard to tell what actually happened. And Alden going with that Panda Express FX2.
This one's
one of
wider.
Alden's favorite restaurants.
What's your favorite restaurant?
That's a tough one. If I'm looking like nicer, I'll go with maybe a Texas Roadhouse. Pretty consistent. You're always going to get a pretty solid ribeye there. Fast food, Freddy's or Culver's is probably my number one.
That's a Midwestern response if I've ever heard one. I love it.
Yeah, 100%.
A better brand of beef makes a Butterburger better, right?
Should be good. Yes.
All right.
And yeah, this is not where you want to be on this hole. That's just an awful putt.
That's really not where you want to be
Yeah,
either.
that is. And
You are so lucky that the grass actually caught that, right?
Yeah, now I'm 40 feet down the hill looking at a headwind putt coming up the hill. This is one of those holes where it's basically a gimme birdie again, so I'm not looking forward to that par putt. A little bit high for Connor.
Yeah, the stepper doesn't drop. And I feel like almost every other time, every other year, that definitely carries all the way out of bounds or catches edge enough to roll out of bounds. But
Yeah.
you stay in, and now you have the big comebacker. Solid.
That one felt great. I thought that was a little bit low out of my hand, barely snuck over the cage again, but I did know uphill with a headwind, no matter how you putt it, it's going to act as if it's a nose-up putt, so it's going to lift.
Now wait a minute. Did I just see Alden with your patented move? Does he pay you any royalties when he does that?
He actually doesn't, which I need to get on him. You know,
Yeah.
he's right here behind us, so you better watch it next time he does that. 'Cause I'm
Awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward.
Seriously.
Do you see a bunch of people doing that now?
A couple for sure. I think it helps visualize it, and it's right there if you especially keep it. There's that headwind. So Alden is a nose-up putter, so it did really exaggerate that uphill headwind putt. See, it really lifted for Alden there. 15-foot comebacker right in the heart. But yeah, I do like to use a chalk bag, especially just because I hold it in my left hand at most times anyway. It's right there, feeling a little bit uncomfortable with the wind. You can get a good read, and it's going to stay in the air for a little bit longer, so you'll know exactly where the wind's going. Yeah, Danny there. Looks like it just stuck to his pointer finger. That happens to me every once in a while, not too often, definitely, but it can happen. Could be nerves. You know, we're on chase card here at a pretty big A tier, so after a pretty solid round one, there could be a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, he shot 11 under the opening round. Of course, we had 3 11s in the 12 here, so you guys are all very much in contention. And Danny doesn't make the comebacker. Truth be told, Danny was hoping there'd be a bribe maybe so that I'd cut a few of these shots out. But sorry, Danny, when everybody begs to get on coverage, and then when you get there, it's you got to show up for it in every possible way.
That's got to be one of the worst parts about being on coverage is
the times it doesn't go well.
Well, yeah, you know, a lot of my friends, I get made fun of for some shots I throw, like, how is that even possible? Or, you know, so sometimes coverage can bite you in the butt.
It can. Well, we're here on hole 7. This is the shortest hole you guys will play all weekend of either course. And it feels like it's a must-get birdie, or at least a great birdie potential when the wind is down. No?
In my opinion, it's like the hardest hole in the course.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, that we got really lucky, let's be honest. I'm going to leave about 25-foot putt right there, but I know at least myself and a lot of other players feel this way, that when it's this short, it's really hard to tone it down, especially when you need to have speed control, which is probably Alden's best attribute of his game, is, you know, throwing overstable stuff on Anheuser out of the hand, getting it to land really soft. And I think here's a harp out at Connor. That one clipped the tree, but was able to stay safe.
What do you think of the forehand line out over the water and up over the tree, like we saw Yuli do in round number 1? What do you think about that line?
I like it. The only part I don't like about it is if it's a little bit too windy, you can kind of get some unexpected drops, and if you never cross in bounds, you're not going to be loving that result. Danny, probably the last couple putts are just in his head, and same thing happens to me sometimes. You know, you can't get the putter going, and it's really tough to get it in the basket, especially at that kind of tester range where you're inside the circle, but you're still 30 feet away, and if it's a little bit breezy, it can be tough at times.
That looks solid.
Yeah, I was able to go 2 down on this hole, which kind of felt unbelievable for me. As in practice, I wasn't even getting within 50 feet. It was awful.
It's just 210 feet.
I know, but when it's that short, it's hard to really tone down your putters. Usually I'll use the height to my advantage and either throw more of a spike shot or, you know, kind of use gravity as it's coming down towards the earth so fast. It'll slow it down for me, but when you have a lone ceiling like you do here on hole 7, really gotta be touchy with your approaches. One thing I actually find myself having an issue with is almost acting with a full run up on the tee, even though it's a 200-foot shot, where, you know, if you're in the fairway on a par 4 and you have a 200-foot shot, a lot of times I'll probably throw a standstill. And that could just be because you have a tee pad in front of you. You're like, oh, I got to use it all, you know?
And a big thanks to our friends over at Zuko who are coming out with a bunch of custom carts that you're seeing and supporting our players and events as we head over to the last par 4 that we're going to see at this course, 570 feet. Seems like it's playing somewhat easy for our competitors this year, but the shots really aren't that easy, are they?
I guess for me, it's a pretty easy tee shot, and then it should leave me with a jump putt coming into the green. But yeah, if you don't have the distance to really go over the tree like I do here with a flex shot, it can definitely make that gap lower or a lot smaller. I'm able to, like I said, just throw kind of a spiky flex shot in a way with something super overstable. Alden's gonna throw more of that hyzer flip line, a little bit tougher in my opinion to hit the line. Makes the line a little bit tighter. And he finishes left, which is where you want to be. It opens up your approach into the green. It's an interesting play here from Connor with the spike hyzer with the destroyer.
Yeah, this is just kind of the big boy route when you're not wanting to mess with any angles. Just put it up there and try and go up and over everything. It's a shot I've seen throughout the years, but you definitely need the arm for it.
Yeah, the only reason I can see Danny here going with a little bit of a lower line, he doesn't quite have the distance to kind of go over the top of the flex. The only reason I can think of Connor going with that wide route is he just feels comfortable with this approach at this range. For myself, I'd like to be a lot closer. That way I can jump up my approach. So I will go a little bit more aggressive off the tee if I need to.
Not everyone's afforded that luxury of possibly getting up there for a jumper. But, yeah, as you said, look really comfortable for Connor. And Danny gets the green flag.
Maybe it did drop a little bit. I thought I threw it pretty solid, and it kind of just like, I guess, dropped out of the air a little bit. Yeah, I didn't throw it hard enough. Maybe a little bit tentative. That's gonna leave me actually outside the circle, which is just really disappointing. When you're looking at the basket from 180 feet away, you want to get up and down, and kind of just rush that one a little bit. Right side chains.
Alden will step up to what is almost the exact same spot. You see some of that wind blowing left to right here.
Yeah, definitely got a little bit windy out there, especially on these peninsula greens when you're,
fully exposed. Yeah,
it almost feels like the wind's a little bit more just because it's in your head. If you airball, you can definitely go out of bounds. And nice committed putt there from Alden, making the change after seeing my mistake.
I'm sure he was talking trash after that. He should have been.
He always does.
Danny trying to save the par. Excuse me, that was actually 4 birdie. And now at best, yeah, looking at a par.
Danny is usually one of the best putters I know, actually. Could just be the nerves getting to him. Gonna tap in my par. Definitely disappointed. You want to get all the birdies that are gimme birdies out here. That's the only hard part about Fountain Hills, I feel like, is there's a lot of gimme birdies, and when you miss them, it can really mess with your mental game or get in your head. Hopefully I can bounce back from that.
Yeah, this played right in the middle in terms of difficulty overall, about the 8th or 9th most difficult, so just about the middle of the field when it comes to the challenge it presented. Plenty of birdies, though, we're giving up out here, that's for sure. As we're going to head into our 9th and final hole, it's a par 3, but doesn't really play like one, does it?
Definitely does not play as a par 3. I think we only saw maybe 2 birdies over the 2 rounds, with both in round 1. This hole is unbelievably hard. Not only is it, I feel like, the closest basket to the water, it's almost unreachable unless you go super aggressive with a steep hyzer out of the hand. I know my entire card is really just playing it for par here. Alden going with his 500 Gannon Buhr D1. And it's pretty much prime time position for that par play.
Yeah, it looked short. I was nervous for a moment. I thought that didn't get out and possibly was going to be in the water.
He's a little bit of a noodle arm.
And this gets the skip. Yeah, the skip you don't want. And the spotter doesn't have to do much work other than raise the red flag, unfortunately.
It's kind of shanked out of my hand a little bit right of where I want to, and gonna let me a very tricky approach shot. That is not it right there. Danny with that same cloud breaker. Getting some nice left movement. Opening it up the shot to the green.
Seeing some left to right wind. Then a
B on my disc. Not happy at me. There's a B on my disc. Oh, you can hear me say it right there. So I'm looking at a couple options, either jump putt through the gap right there or jump putt around outside. Now, forehand seems like the play here, but it's so short where it just feels like I'd shank it every time. So I'm going to go with this jump putt. Anheuser, very difficult. Oh, boy. Not good.
No, was it just, did you just not put enough angle on it, or did it just stable up? What went wrong there?
Yeah, I just started it too far right. I didn't trust it out over the water like I should have. I think it would have been a perfect shot. And now I'm going to have a 50-footer for bogey, which is almost a nightmare.
Meanwhile, your noodle arm friend here looks to be doing it right, and a little pitch up right next to the basket.
Yeah, a little bit of a shorter throw off the tee, but he got further left, which is what you're looking for. I play a lot of holes like this on tour, especially par 4s, where, maybe not so much distance forward off the tee, but if you're going towards the basket, that's what you're looking for. And this is terrifying putt. You can see that water whipping a little bit, getting a little bit breezy out here. And
you're thinking you need to save the stroke, right? There's no thought of laying this up?
In my mind, what's the difference between a double and a triple? And
okay, well, a little bit of water. I think that's the difference.
Maybe you shouldn't have thought of that. This is awful. This is what I'm talking about, where you're on coverage, your friend's gonna make fun of you.
Yeah. Well.
And Alden is recording me behind right now, and I knew he was gonna do that. I just knew that was coming.
Well,
So,
when you make the biggest error probably of the weekend thus far, unfortunately the ridicule can come with it. So it's going to be a triple when it's all said and done. So you're taking a 6 here on the most difficult hole on the course. At least it's not like the easiest hole, but it is the most difficult. So
yeah, still unacceptable. For this.
That
but,
doesn't feel good.
Funny, when me and Alden played at Jonesboro last year, we also both took triple bogeys. So we're kind of the triple bogey boys.
I don't think I want that on a stamp. All right, well, we're going to start to close things out. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been awesome having Gannon here on the coverage. Hope you guys like all the coverage. Like, share, subscribe. Tell us your favorite place to eat. That's what I need you to do in the comments. And with that, we're closing out the front 9, round 2 chase card. We'll see you guys in the back half.